Well, hello. Welcome to Black Men Speak. It's a podcast highlighting ordinary Black men doing extraordinary things. I'm your host, Keith Dent, and it's been a while since we've been on. A lot of things have been going on, and I've missed you guys. And we have a lot of great things we're going to talk about today. Because over, I guess, a week ago or a week or so ago, I saw a show on New York, I guess, Access Channel, and I thought I had to have this guy on, and I'll kind of give you kind of his background in a minute, but it really is going to be focused on loneliness because there's a lot of lonely people out there now, and I don't know if you've heard about kind of some of the problems that the dating apps are having. But, in October of 2023, on the website Discover Therapy, it recognized that loneliness as a growing public health concern, with studies revealing alarming statistics about its prevalence and impact. I'm going to give you a couple. Over 60% of adults in the United States reported feeling lonely. Young adults between the ages of 18 and 22 are the loneliest age group. The number of people who live alone has increased over 30% in the last few decades. Social isolation is as harmful to health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That's pretty lonely. And then only 1 in 5 Americans say they have nobody to talk to about important matters. So then I came across an additional support in Equimundo found that 2/3 of surveyed men between the ages of 18 and 23 say no one really knows me. And a 2021 report by the Survey Center of American Life found that 1 in 7 men say they have no close friends. And so compared to 30 years ago, more than half of men surveyed said that. And that doesn't include the subgroup of Black men, which also report feeling isolated, and then Latino men, and then the LGBTQ community. So, the brother that we're talking to today, Thomas C Knox, saw kind of this issue well before it was reported. So back in June 2015, he decided to set up a small table and chairs and invited random strangers to sit down for a chat while they waited for the subway in New York City. So, that's pretty daring. Imagine somebody doing that now, especially with, all the stories that you hear. He called a date while you wait. But finding a date really wasn't the point. It was just a simple way for people to have a positive social interaction outside of traditional social media. So he felt that it was necessary for people to kind of develop connection, even though it might have been for a short period of time in a face-to-face way. So within months of his connection, it exploded on social media, and then mainstream media, news outlets picked it up, and then he created the show, which is what I saw a couple of weeks ago. And then because of these foundational successes, he was inspired to create the Connection Collective. So Thomas E. Knox is just a little background on him. He's a Master Connection Curator, social entrepreneur, and thought leader from Brooklyn. And he's committed to curating impactful educational and community experiences through the Connection Collective. At the forefront of innovation, his company endeavors to challenge and empower individuals to forge unique connections. He's also serves as the owner of the BeGreat Bow Ties, and it's an exclusive custom bow tie brand. Thomas encourages his customers to express their individuality by being unique in style. And importantly, he stands as the visionary creator and host of the Emmy-winning television series with 13 awards to his name. So I'm going to bring him up. Thomas, how you doing, sir? What's going on?
such a great job introducing me, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, welcome. It's great to have you on. And like I said, when because you'll just flip through the channels and I was like, wow, like date while you wait. So I was like, okay. I was like, wow, this could be something. I'm like, let me check and see what's going on. But then I was like, wait, this is not a date. This is not a dating show. So, and it was really fascinating. So before we really touch into that, I see that you grew up in Brooklyn. So what was it like for you growing up in Brooklyn?
Yeah, it's a great question. Growing up was always for me because my parents were separated. So I'm the oldest of four, and uh, when I made it to essentially when I was born, my mom moved to Staten Island, and my dad stayed in Brooklyn. So as I got older, I would travel in between both of my parents. So I would say it was kind of the best of both worlds. Most people that people from New York, you have an opportunity to be in Brooklyn and see what Brooklyn has to offer, and then you go to the big city of Manhattan, and you're like, man, I'm in a totally different world. So that was
Okay.
my experience. That was my experience growing up in New York and more specifically Brooklyn.
Okay. And what section of Brooklyn did you grow up in?
Yeah, I'm from East Flatbush.
East Flatbush. Okay. Okay. Cool. Cool. And so what kind of student were you growing up in East Flatbush?
Yeah, I was one of those students who I was very smart, but I was very rebellious. Used to get in
Okay.
trouble a lot. Uh, I a little more backstory. My mom, she was a substance abuser, so she was trying to figure out how to navigate that space and be a mother at the same time. And I'm a mama's boy to the heart of me. So
Okay.
anytime
Okay.
someone would say something, or anytime my mom, anything would come up negative about my mom, I would literally fight for her.
Mm.
And so student wise, I was always a smart kid, but I ended up going into special ed because of my behavioral issues
Oh
and not being
wow.
able to
Okay.
control myself.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, I would say I was a good student, just someone who had behavioral issues and was able to obviously get to a point where I can figure that out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so yeah, so let's get to the heart of the, kind of the heart of the matter. What made you decide to create the platform, which of course turned into a show, Date While You Wait?
Yeah, so Date While You Wait was essentially birthed from a negative experience. I was supposed to have dinner with a friend of mine, and she canceled on me last minute after work one day. I was super frustrated about it. And then when I got on the phone with her, she was like, hey, I was on my way home. And the first train car I got on, there were people performing. So then I got off the next stop, got on the next train, and then it was people panhandling and selling things. And I was so frustrated from people performing, I ended up getting off the train again. And then the next car I got on, there was a homeless person on the car on the train. So she was just really frustrated, and she ended up canceling our plans.
Mm.
And in my head, a light bulb went off, and I was like, "Man, what if I did something positive in the subway and just talk to people? Like I thought it'd be a cool thing to do." So that's how I came up with Day While You Wait, and then I shared it with a group of friends of mine. They thought it'd be a great idea. They're like, "If anybody could do it, you're the perfect person. You have the perfect personality." So that we end up coming together, and that's how the first one got started.
Well, that's interesting. It's clearly she must not have been from New York.
Believe it or not, she is from New York.
Oh wow. Okay.
so,
Interesting. Okay.
so yeah.
And so it was really this her subway experience, because that was really going to be my next question. Why the subway, and why not necessarily, I guess, on the corner in a different different neighborhoods, to create that connection? Because usually people are in a rush on the subway. They're trying to make sure they sticking their arm in. It's crowded, or so what, whereby you might be able to easily stop somebody on the street and get them to maybe sit down. So what made you choose a subway over, I guess, outside?
Yeah, this is the first time I've ever gotten this question. It's a really great question. Good observation. So the reason I chose the subway is because growing up, I always, whenever I go on the train, my dad or my mom, I always wonder what people were doing. Like, you sit on the subway car with 100 people, but everybody has different things going in their lives. You see a person reading a book. You see a couple having a conversation. You see another dad with his kids. So in
Mm,
my head, I find the subway to be so fascinating. You can walk by hundreds and hundreds of people every day, and they all have different lives. You have no idea what they do. You have no idea where they're
right,
coming from.
right.
And I just thought that would be fascinating. And then that was one reason I chose the subway. And then another reason was because I wanted people to have an opportunity to connect while they waited. So, like on a street corner, you're not really waiting for anything. Even at a bus stop, there's not much space. You're just waiting for the bus. You get on the bus. Whereas in the
Mm-mm.
subway station, typically you walk from one train to another train. You're entering, you're exiting. There's enough space to set up a table. So I wanted it to be something where people had a second to take a quick break. They wanted to share a story, great. If not, go on with your day and keep it moving. No worries. So, but I believe that no matter where you're from, there's so much that goes on in your cities, and we all have our own stories. And I just wanted to tap into that as well as create a cool space for folks.
Okay. So set up for those who haven't, because of course there might be people that haven't seen the show, set up the table for me. What did it look like? Kind of describe what what you wanted to create in order to get people to sit down.
Yeah, so I would say the first thing is to understand the rules. So I had a set of rules I used every single
Oh,
time,
okay. Yeah, I want to hear that.
and these rules I feel like kept it authentic.
Okay.
So rule number one is if you sit down with me, you have to introduce yourself. You have to give me a name. So anyone who sits down with me, I'm like, "Hi, I'm Thomas. What's your name?" I've had folks sit down with me and be like, "I'm not telling you my name," and I'm like, "Cool, I'll just call you no name." Um,
Okay.
so
Okay.
that's rule
Okay.
number one, right? Need to know who you are. Uh, Rule number two is I never asked anyone to sit with me. So I did Date While You Wait over 5 years. Not once did I turn to a person and say, "Hey, do you want to sit with me?" It was the type of thing where I wanted people to come organically and inquire, ask, "What
Okay.
is this thing you're doing?"
You never ask anybody to sit down.
Never, not
Okay.
once have I ever asked someone to sit with me. And then the biggest rule of all is just respect the space, right? If you're sitting down and someone's connecting with you and I'm asking you questions, if you don't want to answer questions, you don't have to answer the questions. There's no, this is not a quiz. Like we talk about whatever
Gotcha.
you want, or we don't talk
Okay.
about whatever you want. Totally fine. So those
Okay.
are the kind of rules that I utilized. And then as far as the setup, I use a table from Target, two folding chairs. I had a Coke bottle with a flower, and we handmade signs. So one of my friends, I asked her, could she hand draw signs because I thought it'd be a little more authentic. So every sign that you ever see on TV and any picture you see, those are hand drawn. Nothing is printed.
Okay.
And I just wanted it to be a really authentic experience for folks. And that's essentially it. And then I was really big in what I wore. So I
Okay.
always wore or attempted to wear a button down shirt with a bow tie. I just wanted to make sure that I always had some type of unique look when I was going into the subway. And that was something that was really important to me as well.
Oh, that's fascinating because did you feel that that would break down the barrier as opposed to, let's say, like you have on now, like wearing a hoodie and like jeans?
Yeah, well, one, I thought it would just make people a little more comfortable, but two, the bow tie I was wearing was a very unique bow tie. The shirts, I have
Yeah,
a very unique
absolutely.
style, so
Okay.
I wanted my style to stand out just as much as the people I sat with, and I wanted it to. I always feel like when you create a space where the environment is fun, it's energetic, people are more open to connect with you. Whereas to your point, if I'm sitting there in a hoodie, everybody wears hoodie. I'm a black
Okay.
man in a hoodie.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
um, so that was some of the idea behind that as well.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, and then you also had a game, right? Was that part of it, like from the very beginning?
It wasn't. So the first time I did Date While You Wait, there was no board game,
Oh, there's no game.
uh,
Okay.
no games. And then I did it maybe two or three times, and I was like, I gotta find a way to give people something else to like freshen it up. So I started looking for board games, and Connect Four just seemed like the most like adequate game. It just is a quick game. You can play a couple very quickly. Everybody knows what it is pretty much. So I started with Connect Four, and then after that I started introducing a bunch of games. So we've done Perfection, we've done Operation. There's one day I sat in the subway 6 hours, and we did a puzzle, and I just had
Oh,
people come
wow.
stop by and put a piece down.
Put a piece in?
Uh,
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah, like I set it up. I just tried different things, and I was like, either it's gonna stick or it's not. We
Okay.
painted in the
Okay.
subway, so I did paint while you ate one day. That was cool. I just kept trying to add different
Trying
components just
different
to make
things.
it more
Okay.
fun. Yeah.
Okay. That's awesome. And so the first time you sat down, and you didn't need a permit or anything. You could just sit down if you wanted, right?
Yeah, so I believe you actually do need a permit,
Okay.
which is funny. So I actually went to the city. I try to do everything by the book, but I'm also very much so a guy that if someone tells me you can't do something, I'm like, I'm gonna do it and just worry about the consequences later.
Okay.
So I did go to the city and ask that I need a permit. I was told I was going to need a permit, specifically if I'm filming or if I'm putting anything down tripod wise. So I made sure
Okay.
we didn't film. I was like, we're not
Okay.
filming. We're only gonna take photos. And luckily, I've only been stopped one time. I've probably done Date While You Wait, I don't know, 40 times, 50 times. I've been stopped one time, and then I ended up playing Connect Four with the cop that stopped me. So
Okay.
uh, I
Wow.
haven't been
Okay.
kicked out of somewhere.
So let's go back to the first time you got the table down, you got your whole setup. How long did it take for a person to sit down, and do you remember kind of who that person was and what you discussed or what transpired?
Absolutely, I would never forget it. It was magical. So the first time I did Date While You Wait, it didn't take anybody any time to sit down. I didn't even have my table set up. I got off the train and someone was getting on the train. They stopped. They turned around. They was like, what is this?" And I was like, "I don't know what it is yet. Like, I have no idea." And I was like, I look at the sign and I'm like, it's Date While You Wait. And they waited for me to put the table together. They
Okay.
waited for me to tape everything. They literally sat there and waited. And the first person I sat down with uh, is a lovely person from, I believe she's from Harlem. She's the CEO and I guess acting CEO of the National Black Theater in Harlem. Her name's Sade. Uh,
Okay.
and the reason I say her name is because she is best friends with Zoe Kravitz, who was also
Mm.
there.
Oh,
And
wow.
I had no idea who Zoe Kravitz
Oh
was.
my God. Oh,
so
man.
so the first
Okay.
people I met doing Date While You Wait was Sade and Zoe Kravitz.
Sade and Zoe Kravitz.
I
Wow.
had no idea it was Zoe Kravitz until she left, and my friends were like, "Yo, do you know who that is?" Uh, because we were taking photos, I believe Zoe did ask, "Were we taking videos and photos?" And we were like, "Yeah, we're taking photos." And she was like, "I'm good," which makes sense.
Right. Which
but
makes sense. Right. Right.
her friend sat with me, and if you look at the photos, that you can go check it. The first person I saw with is
Oh,
Sade
wow.
from National
Okay.
Black Theater. Yeah,
That's fantastic. And so was there a fact was there were people always confused by the fact that it was Date While You Wait? Because I know it wasn't really about dating, it was just about really social connection. So did you have to explain that a lot?
absolutely. Every single person that sat with me the first probably 2 or 3 times was like, "What the hell is this?" And date while you wait. Like, this is, I'm single. Can you hook me up, or would you like to go on a date with me? Absolutely. And to
Okay.
be completely honest, when I first started, I just came up with the name because it sounded good. So I was like,
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
have a
it's
date while
perfect.
you wait. It just sounded good.
Yeah, it's
I,
perfect. Yeah.
it wasn't about. I never did it for romance. I had no problem meeting women. That wasn't it. I wanted it to just sound really cool,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it had a cool
absolutely.
ring
It's
to
it's,
it.
it's
So
definitely a eye catcher because you're like, wait, date while you wait. What does that mean? Even if you're not trying to date, it's very curious to figure out what it is. What is this about? Um, so two things. What do you feel was your most impactful, like to you personally? impactful person that sat down, and what was one that really just did not go well, or it really impacted you in a negative way?
Yeah, I have so many stories. I would say it's hard to choose one. I could probably give you two that were impactful, and I can make them quick.
Okay.
Um, One was I sat down with a gentleman from, I believe he was either from France or Russia the first day, and he and I spoke very little English. He and I just had like a maybe 10-15 minute conversation. And then he ends up leaving, or about to leave. When he's packing up to leave, and he stops me and he says, I'm here to visit a person I've been dating for 5 years. And he's like, I was going to break it off, but because of this conversation, I'm going to try to take a different approach.
Wow.
And,
Okay.
and that was something that really stuck with me because I never done, I'm not a therapist, I'm not a doctor, but it was my first time I had this conversation with this person. And he was on his way to the airport. He ended up not going to the airport and going back to the person. And I
Oh,
don't know if it worked out. I don't know if they ended up together.
oh,
But
that's
that was something
amazing. That's amazing.
that was one that was really big. And then the one I always share, and you might hear on the other platforms but it is the most impactful. I sat down with a teacher who had to stop teaching because she was diagnosed with a disease that caused her to be in chronic pain. And
Mm.
and she said this was sitting down with me was the first time since she's been diagnosed that she wasn't in pain.
Oh, wow. That's
So that's something
amazing.
that really impacted me as well. Yeah, and I have a really incredible photo where her and I are talking, and her elbow is like on the table, like she's like leaning toward me, and I'm just like we're like really engaged. And that was one that really, and there's so many other ones, but that was one as well.
So, and which is funny. So I would assume most of the people missed their train. They did not, because it's date while you wait. So you're waiting for the next train. But I would assume most people ended up missing their trains.
Yeah, so what I would do is when someone sat down with me, I would ask them, "What train are you waiting for?" They'd be like, "I'm waiting for." If I'm on the A train platform, they're like, "Oh, I'm waiting on the A train." I'm like, "Cool." So I would pay attention for the next train for them, and sometimes they would be like, "I don't care about the train," and other times they
Mm.
would sit down with me, talk, and go on with their day. So it was. I always try to be respectful of people's time because I understand a lot of times I would do it during rush hour, so it's a ton of people in the train station. People just trying to get home. I don't want to be a nuisance. I just want to create a cool experience. Um, so yeah, I've had
Hmm.
people miss trains. I've had people sit down with me for an hour, and because they don't want to, and that goes to the negative kind of negative experience. I had a guy sit down with me for an hour because he couldn't beat me in Connect Four, and he just kept losing. I probably beat him like 20 times, and he would not get up. And I'm like, sir.
You got to
So
go.
so so then I got sometimes. So what I do as well is sometimes I will let people win depending on their attitude and how they sit down with me because it
Oh,
would
wow.
brighten their
Okay.
day. So they'll
Mm.
sit down with me. I'm like, how's your day going? And then, oh, I had a rough day, and we'll play a game, and I'll let them win, and they'll be so excited that they beat me. And
Wow.
so
Okay.
I would do that from time to time. But this particular guy was like, ah, there's no way. The way he was acting, there's no way I was going to let that happen. So he ended up sitting down with me for like an hour. That was a negative
So,
experience.
and did he eventually win, or he just lost? He lost and he had to go.
He got up and he stormed off. Yeah, he
He
was
stormed
frustrated.
off. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And then I had another experience where I had a woman sit down with me and she told me she sat down like literally like 2 minutes, and I didn't talk at all. And she said, "I can't believe you're doing this. You're making black men look so bad. I never knew black men could be so desperate." She's like, "This is crazy. Date while you wait. Why are you sitting in the subway trying to meet women? Like this is such a gimmick." And I was like, I'm trying to explain it to her, and she just paying me no mind. She gets up
Mm.
and storms off, right? So I'm like blown away by the experience, and it was a negative experience. And then like 2 weeks later, she comes back, and I'm playing somebody for I don't know, maybe like half an hour. She stood
Hmm.
there the entire time. When I finished, she came up to me and she apologized. She said, "I'm sorry. I went home and I told my sister or my mom or somebody that there's this guy sitting in the subway playing board games with people. He's making black men." And my mom's like, "No, that's the DYUA guy. Like he's connecting with people." And she's like, "I had to come back and apologize." She came back and apologized.
Wow. So mom had to school her,
Yeah.
huh? Oh, that is that's fascinating. I think because the two things that I heard, which I thought was great, is that you allow the connections to be organic. So, and I think that's very hard today because, with social media and things of that nature, you really have to, there is no organicness to it. You kind of have to force the issue, slide in DMs or, connect, hit, connect with person. And it's, it's very hard. And you don't really get there's no energy either. You don't get the sense of someone's energy and how they're feeling. Like you said, would let people win because you could tell just by sitting with them how they were feeling that day. And so I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah.
And so then you turn it into a TV show, or you got approached and you turn it into a TV show. So with that, now it changes. You have cameras, and you probably, I would assume they edited after to try to keep it organic. Is that true?
Yes. So yeah, the process with the show is totally different than how it is in the subway,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
it still was. I set it up in a way where I still wanted it to be authentic, or as authentic as possible.
And how did it kind of change how you approach the show, or how
Yeah,
you approach the project?
yeah. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to find ways to impact folks that are watching the show, because you're watching it on your couch at home, so it's different than standing in the subway waiting for the train. So the producer and I sat down and came up with a strategy that we feel like made a lot of sense. And what we did is we essentially did a casting call, and we asked people, do they have a story they want to share,
Oh, okay.
or information they want to share, or something that is impactful that they want to share. We asked and the production team would speak with them if their story was something that was good enough, essentially, to make it on TV type thing. They would bring it to me, and I would just meet the person. I literally met every person pretty much the first time on the set.
Okay.
So they would be
Okay.
like, today you're meeting Keith. He does this, and he's going to talk about this. And it was up to me to kind of pull that out of them as we
Mm,
sat. So there were a few people that I knew, but I didn't know their stories. Um,
okay.
and there are people that I did reach out to that I met along the way that we never connected, but they may have said a kind word, and I'm like, hey, I'm doing a show. Would love to have you on. Do you have a story? Fill out this form. But I would say a huge portion of it was people emailing a story, then speaking to production, and
Okay.
then
Okay. Gotcha.
meeting me.
And did that impact you and how you approached? Because it's much different when it's like organic. Not that this wasn't organic, but it's you have to be quick with it and things of that nature. But with this, it was a little bit. You had a general idea of what they were going to discuss. Do you felt that impacted how you approach the project?
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that gave me an idea of, because this is TV, some of the questions that I typically ask, I probably would ask in the subway, because I'm trying to get a different type of response.
Okay.
So some of the questions I would ask, like in the subway, I could talk to you about your upbringing. I could talk to you about where you're from. Whereas on a show, I got to get to it quick, right? I got to get to your name, who
Right.
you
Right.
are. I can't have as much time. But once we get to the kind of the meat of the conversation, then I would guide it depending on, if someone says something that stood out to me, I'd be like, man, you said something that stood out. Let's dive into that. And
Mhm.
that's how those conversations went. And to be completely honest, production was not happy with me a lot, because I have a 10-minute conversation, and the segment's 3 minutes, so they got to
Yeah.
edit it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I figured as much. You're like, hey, come on, let's move it along.
but I
Um,
just, that's how conversations go, especially with me. I want to get to the nitty gritty of who you are or what you love, and that's just something that I guess I have a gift to do. So,
okay.
so yeah.
Okay. And now, is the show still going on, or did it end, or what happened?
Yeah, so we produced 13 episodes. The show is on, at this point, probably like 40 different platforms. Um, you go to dateyou8.tv, and you'll see everywhere you can watch it. But it's essentially constantly running. It's evergreen for us.
Okay.
And then we're at a point where we're trying to figure out if we want to do a season 2. Still trying to figure out kind of the direction for that, but it's definitely something in the works. We just don't know kind of
Mm-hmm.
the direction we want to go into with it. I think season 1 came out at a time where we really needed it. And I think for
Right,
season
right.
2, with everything happening in the subways and in the world, we just want to be mindful with what we're putting out there. So, Date While You Wait, we may not do a season 2, but I am working on another show. So,
Okay, okay.
outside of Date While You Wait. So
Oh, another.
we'll see
Okay,
how that goes.
you have another project in the works. Okay. Um, and I thought this was just fascinating to ask. Did you actually get a date out of the show?
That's a good question. I got tons of proposals from women. So they would sit down with me and ask me if I'm single and things like that. But I used to always tell them, this is not the place to have this type of interaction. If you're really interested in getting to know me, hit me up on Instagram, hit me up on Facebook, and we'll see what happens. And
Okay.
only one woman did it.
Only
One
one.
woman. And the one
Wow.
woman that did it, actually, it wasn't a woman. It was a young woman, a teenager, and she hit me up. I met her on the platform, and she kept telling me I need to date her mom.
Oh, wow.
She's like, I think
That
it'd be perfect for my mom. And she reached out to me on social media, and nothing ever happened. She was like, I think you should date my mom, and that was it. So
that is hilarious.
I never met her mom, never talked to her, but I would say I probably had like 15, 20 different women just ask me if I'm single, and I think some people too, they wanted to utilize the platform for their gain, right? So they want to take photos and
Mm.
video,
Mm-hmm.
but I always used to say, this is not for that. If you're interested, let's
Okay.
touch base offline, and if
Wow,
if you're,
that's
and no one ever
interesting.
did it. Yeah, no one ever did it.
That's fascinating. I wonder what is that? Then when you think about it, so what does that actually say about connection? And because they had a chance to kind of, in a more of an organic, friendly way, get to meet you, and you would pour into their interests, right? You
Yeah.
weren't, trying to hook up. You were actually very much interested in talking to them and who they were about. But then yet, when the opportunity came for them to go the extra mile, they couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think it's simple. When when you're at a concert, you can dance your ass off, but when you're home watching on TV, you may not do the same type of dance. And I feel like the moment gets to people, right? They see me, they're excited. It's a moment. Everybody's
Mm.
super.
Hmm.
I've never seen this before. And then when they get home, they go back to earth, and they're like, I don't know, like, yeah, like that's that. I've been in that situation, so I know. Now, obviously, I can't speak for every person, but
Right.
it could be a number of reasons. But I really believe that the moment gets to them, in the moment, if I grab their phone number or text them right then and
Okay.
there could have been more, I guess. But I just always wanted it to be organic. That's the big thing about me. I'm no celebrity,
Mhm.
but I see how these celebrities they be getting them, and I was like, I need to stick to my guns. I need to
Mm.
stick to the origin of this. I need to be authentic. So there will never be anyone who reaches out and says, Thomas said, I
Right,
dated a
right.
DYUA guy doing DYUA. It doesn't
But
work that way.
well, it's funny,
Uh,
that is a great tip for people. So, because in the moment you can get caught up, and so if you let them, and I'm not necessarily saying this is for women, but anybody, it's like, okay,
yeah,
put in an extra layer. So if you really don't want to meet them, give them an extra layer. If they're really interested, then they'll reach out. If they're not, it was like, oh, in the moment thing, then they won't. And you might save
yeah.
yourself some headache.
And I've had people reach out to me, but it wasn't for dating. Like I've had people reach out to me I've been a part of school projects. I had someone create a whole art kind of exhibit around DYUA. I've been a part of music videos. I'm in a couple of music videos.
Oh,
Like
wow.
people
Okay.
who sat down with me, they'll reach out to me and be like, "Hey, would love to do this or that, or can you give me advice about this?" So we started a conversation. I've had people start businesses and they reach out to me. So it just really depends. I always try to encourage folks. You know, you can do anything you want to do. I'm a guy who sits in the subway and talks to people. Like you can do
Right.
anything, and then
Right.
before you
Right.
know it, that reach out to me like, hey, I did it. So
Right.
yeah.
So also part of the actual aesthetic of the show is your unique bow tie. So yeah, tell me about that, and then what led you to create a bow tie line?
Yeah, so the bow tie is interesting because I probably got that bow tie maybe 2 or 3 weeks before I started doing DIY, and I was just like, I'm gonna wear it. But it was a friend of mine who made it. He was the originator. His name was Terrell, and he actually passed away. And I remember when he made it, he asked me, he was like, would you wear something like this? And I said, sure. And this was way before DIY. So now like I had a funky style before DIY,
Okay.
and I ended up getting it from him. And the first time I wore it was for DIY, and then maybe a couple months after DIY he passed, and
Mm.
and everybody used to ask me about the bow tie, so I didn't think anything of it. I was more worried about losing my friend, and people used to always ask me like, "Where'd you get this bow tie?" Da, da, da. And then one day, my younger brother, he's like, "Man, we should just start a company making bow ties." Like people keep asking. So I started a company making bow ties, and then for the first year, we donated a portion of our proceeds to a suicide awareness organization in honor of my friend. And then I just continued to just come up with different designs and different ideas. But it was just something that really he inspired. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and from there, it's turned into like its own little thing. So it's been a great ride, and I try to, as you said in the intro, the whole brand is very focused on being unique in style, like being you, wearing words and designs that best represent you. So it's been great.
Yeah, I looked at I was trying to figure out a custom one. I was like, oh, maybe I could create one. I didn't have enough letters though, but I'll have to look into that in the future. Um, so I know you mentioned a little bit of the show, but I guess delve more into your actual connection curator, your brand, and what are some of the things that you're going to be doing in the future?
Yeah, it's this is a very hard thing for me because I'm someone who likes to be behind the scenes, but as you probably can tell, it's easy for me to connect with folks. And I believe we live in a world where connection is not as valued as it should be. Or when I say connection, I mean in-person connection, face-to-face
Hmm.
interaction.
Right.
As you shared at the beginning around social media and loneliness, those are all things that even I go through as someone who is, I guess, an introvert, extrovert, I guess. Um, so this is challenging for me because I have all these projects I work on, but I don't put them out into the world. I kind of just do it on the back end, and if I
Oh
feel like
wow.
it makes
Okay.
sense, I'll share it. And I don't always share it, but some of the things that I'm working on now is, obviously the is doing this thing, and then we have the bow tie company. I just started a project around from the bow ties. I had a lot of customers asking for accessories, so now we have a pin company, like lapel pins, hat pins. So that's called Prestigious Pins, and it's running. It's I actually just got some pins into a bookstore. So I'm working with local boutiques and bookstores
Okay.
to do that. I'm working on another show, another series. This one's going to be more around giving people their flowers and admiration. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
so that's something I'm working on. That'll probably be out in the next couple of years. And then I've been told I have a very unique voice. So I'm doing some voiceover work. I have a big voiceover project I'm working on. It's going to be like morning motivation that I'll be putting out every day of the week. So
Okay.
that's something that's coming in the works as well. So those are some of the things, but I have 20,
Whole
30
whole bunch of
projects.
stuff. That's
uh,
that's awesome because you'll have to check out the podcast of the brother that is actually doing that flowers thing that you mentioned. So he might be a support voice of support, or at least to get some ideas from. So um,
Absolutely.
yeah, so that's awesome. So tell so tell I guess anyone how they can connect with you. How's the best way they can watch the show, if they, come across it, or if they're not in the New York area?
Yeah, so the best way to connect with me is probably, as funny as it sounds, it's probably social media. I do answer my DMs. That's how we connected, right?
Yep, yep.
I'm on social media, Facebook, Instagram. I'm on TikTok, but I don't use it. But if you reach out to me, I will respond. So on Instagram, I'm on the Connection Curator. That's my personal page.
Okay.
And then obviously Date While You Wait is a page I manage. BeGreat Bow Ties, as well as prestigious pens. So you reach out to me on any one of those platforms. I'm the person that will see it. I'm the person that will get back to you. And as far as people checking out the show, everything is available on the website, which is datewhileyouwait.tv. So if you go to datewhileyouwait.tv, not only will you see all the information and the history and behind the show, but there's actually a page on there that tells you every platform it's on. You can also literally Google Date While You Wait, and the show is the first thing that pops up at this point. So those would be the places to reach out. And if you're ever in Philly, you're more than welcome to meet me at the local coffee shop. I go to a lot of coffee shops, so if you see me,
okay,
feel free to stop by and say hello.
Yeah,
I've had people stop by. So if anybody's out there listening, if you're in Philly, I hang out at a lot of coffee. I frequent coffee shops almost every day. So
right, yeah. Drink while you wait, Java while you wait. So yeah, and I meant to say this, and it slipped my mind for a second. So you don't consider yourself an extrovert. You feel you're more of an introvert.
Yeah, I think, quite honestly, if I'm being completely honest, I'm someone who hates titles. I think I'm a person that's just me. Like I don't. Sometimes I'm in the mood to I can go to 4 events in a week. And sometimes I can be in my house 2 weeks and I don't want to go anywhere and I don't want to talk to anybody.
I see. Right.
So I don't really look at myself as I could be an extrovert. I can go into a room full of folks and talk to everybody, and I go a room full of folks and hide in the corner. So
okay, yeah. I mean, yeah, it makes sense. You do what you have to do. You do what's necessary. Yeah. So I get it.
But I also
cool.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say I also try to read the environment where I am. Sometimes I feel like if I'm in a space, and I've had people tell me this, I'll get invited to things just because the energy has been bad, and they're like, "Yo, can you come liven it up for us?" and I walk in and just be like, "Hey guys, like, what's going on? Let's rock and roll." So I try to read the room when I go places. And see if I need to be extra or do I need to just keep it chill and kind of do my own thing.
That's funny. Yeah, that's hilarious. I got a story about that where I was the energy guy at a wedding before. So yeah, I get it. There was and I meant to ask last two more questions. What over the course of playing, what is your favorite board game?
Yeah, it's hands down Connect 4. So
is it? Okay.
Yeah, Connect 4 is the game that started it all. Connect 4 got me. Connect 4 is one of the most important pieces of my life. If it wasn't for Connect 4, I don't know what I would be. I actually think it's more. It did Date While You Wait more justice than Date While You Wait, and the reason I say that is because I don't know how much you had a chance to look into it, but essentially what happened is Date While You Wait. I did it in the subway. I introduced Connect 4. New York Times wrote a piece about me. The inventor of Connect 4 read the piece, emailed me or Facebook messaged me. I looked at the message and it was like, "Hi, I'm the inventor of Connect 4." And I'm like, "No way." And then I end up meeting the inventor of Connect 4. He ended up coming down. His name's Howard Wexler.
Okay.
And we did a video with the Huffington Post. So if you look up Date While You Wait Huffington Post, you'll see me meet Howard. And to this day, he's one of my mentors. I see him a couple times a year. I have dinner with him.
Oh, wow.
And he is basically a mentor. He's signed tons of books for me. He's given me business advice. And he's in his late 80s. Lives in New York City, Lincoln Center area. And we talk, we email, we check in on each other. So Connect 4 is hands down my favorite game.
Wow. Okay.
I'm very good at it. People challenge me a lot, and there's a lot of losing that happens when people challenge me. So
that's awesome. Yeah. Yeah, you'll just have to let me know. I'd love to play. Play you one day. I'm not saying I'm the best, but hey, you know, it's just a matter of
I
thinking
always
and
go after
strategy.
people. Well, when people are coming for me, that's when I play different. I got to turn on my strategy hat. But
Oh, I see.
next year, the AYUA will be 10 years. It'll be 10 years since I started. So I have something really big I'm working on for the 10-year anniversary. So I'll be
Okay.
sure to share with you, and would love for you to be a part of it.
Awesome. That would be great. That'd be great. Okay, and then so lastly, I know since we do primarily meet feature black men on the show, we're always doing a lot of grinding and not only for ourselves, for our families, and just for the things that we're passionate about. And we don't always kind of take stock in just our feelings or what may be going on internally. So I always like to end with this question: how are you feeling right now as a black man?
Yeah, it's a great question. Great way to end too. Uh, I have my moments where I feel great, and I have moments where I'm low. I'm very much so someone who tries or likes to be authentic and tell my truth. Um, so I would say at this very moment, I'm like in the middle of because
Mhm.
I'm very excited for what's to come and what I've accomplished as a professional and as someone who's a creative. But I'm very much so also bothered by the state of our political climate. These wars going on in these countries. Whenever we lose people, no matter where they're from, it's not okay. There's something that I like to say, even when I was doing DYUA, people say, "Where are you from?" Yeah, I'm born and raised in Brooklyn, but I'm a citizen of the world. We all are, and that's something that I take very, very, I take to heart. So just seeing the everything happening with kind of the migrant crisis and the wars in these different countries is something that weighs heavy on my heart, especially when I come home and I'm looking at the news and I'm like, man, I'm blessed to be able to have my own space and blessed to be able to take care of myself. Where you have, women and
Mhm.
children dying in other countries. So I'm 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 okay, but I wish the world was in a better place. To be
Right,
honest.
right, right. I hear you. And hopefully we'll get there. And I think if there were definitely date while your weight sprinkled in every state or every city, especially major one, we would be in a much better place. So, Thomas, I thank you for joining today. It's really impactful to me, and I really wish you much success. And yeah, definitely let me know when the 10-year anniversary. I'd love to be there.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me, Keith. This has been great, man.
You're welcome.
Really grateful.
Hold on. Yeah, so hold on. Yeah, this is Keith Dent. Thank you for being on the Black Men Speak podcast. Please check out previous episodes wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And we're back. We're back. And we're going to we got some great guests that are going to be coming on very soon. And so we look forward to seeing all of you. You guys have a great day and peace.